The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
It's Friday, the 6th day of November. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamel Hartman, along with Carla Zool. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you haven't already, please share the link, start a watch party, just get the conversation out there to your network. We have another good one for you today, as Dr. Maria Seaman will be stopping by to have a conversation with us. The daily play is going to be a Where Is It? This has just been so easy for Carla. You know, I know she was no good at movies, but she's been pretty good at guessing where places are. So she got probably the first two wrong. So it's just 50%. And if you
But
know, 50% is like an A. All right.
I only got one wrong. What are you talking about?
Which one you got wrong, Carla?
The very first one. That's it. I got the rest right. The
I
beach. The first one was somewhere in the Hamilton Harbor, I think, by the lane. And then one was oh, my bad. Cambridge beaches. I did get two. You're
okay.
right.
I was just wondering if your memory would kick you.
My
Um,
apologies.
There we go. So Carla's going to get this. She's going to take her percentage up this week, over 50%. But before we get to that, looking forward to having Dr. Maria Seaman on. I know one thing I love about Dr. Seaman is, well, she reminds me a lot about myself. Well, I guess, she came first, but she's not afraid to stand on an island alone with her convictions. And I absolutely adore that. And, I think I put a post on Facebook yesterday that I tuned into Fox News. And I get it now. I get it. And people were like, well, what do you get? What you have to understand is, and this is a concern that I have with especially Bermudians, is if you only absorb what you want to hear, you've got problems. If you don't try to understand the other side or other sides, you've got problems. And that those problems are you are just like the people you complain about.
But I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, I mean, she
We argue all that more than people could ever imagine. We disagree, but we keep on moving.
and that's, I think, disagreement, again, I mentioned on a show previously, disagreement is actually is not toxic. I think people have this idea, they believe that disagreement is a toxic thing. To me, disagreement gives all parties, all sides, the opportunity to learn. And so if we're not learning, we're not growing. I'll just say that much. No, that said, don't worry about me being frozen. You can hear me because we have some things for you to hear this morning before we even bring on the great Dr. Maria Seaman. So let me get to it. I need an answer from people in the audience. I need an answer from you. Have you signed up with that travel authorization form in the US? I mean, it's not in the US, in Bermuda, to travel to Bermuda. Have you filled out that travel authorization form to travel? I
Can
need,
I answer?
well, have you, Carl?
No, my daughter did though. When she came home in July, it was $75, I believe.
Yes. Okay, $75. And Carla, did you or your daughter check that statement to see where that $75 is going to?
She paid with her card, so I don't know. She's old enough. She does her own banking, but I may have to pay for 4 soon, so I'll be checking.
Okay.
Why?
Charles Jeffers, let me ask you. You said you've done it twice. Did you see where that $75 that you spent, what did it say on your statement? Because we have some questions for the David Burt administration this morning as to where money is going. We have some questions. Just questions. We're not making statements. We have some questions. And we know how David Burt is. You know, if you're not on his level, he doesn't care to answer you. And according to him, when he's done with something, he's done. But the Bermudian people deserve answers. So what was the charge on your card, Mr. Jeffers? I need answers from people. What was the charge? Because, well, let me go ahead.
I need some tea.
Let me go ahead. So if you go on the Bermuda Travel government website, Bermuda Travel Authorization, right? And let's first go, it says powered by, and it goes off really fast, right? Powered by. And then you go down and you hit apply for travel authorization. And just pick a date, right? And I'm going to click 75 because I believe I'm an adult. Then we're going to hit confirm application type. Oh, powered by who? It says powered by a company called RestQuest. So you then go take the next few steps, and thank you for those who brought this to my attention. RestQuest.com. So you want to say, well, who's RestQuest? So you put it in Google. RestQuest.
How you spell it?
RESQWEST.
Q
W. What's that noise? RestQuest.com. The address is Victoria House, 31 Victoria Street, Hamilton, HM01, Bermuda. And the phone number looks like a area code outside Bermuda, 416-907-4262. So then you say, well, let me hit on RestQuest.com and see what I can get. Some dolphins come up on the page. Your business is about providing great experiences, not paperwork. But you try to hit the other tab, solutions, nothing comes up. You hit clients, nothing comes up. You hit contact, nothing comes up. So then you come back out, folks. And then you go back to Google and you say, well, let me go down. RestQuest is on LinkedIn. And you hit LinkedIn. Right? And let's see what comes up. You see home, about, jobs, and people. So then you're going to go down to people. Aha. And here we go. Dennis Pitcher, the chief fintech advisor to the premier. And also, as of March, I didn't know Bermuda had a chief COVID tech advisor. The chief COVID tech advisor, Dennis Pitcher. Oh, my goodness.
What's that anyway? Do you know? Did you dig that deep?
Well, let's go back before we even get to that. So you may be saying, well, who's Dennis Pitcher? Well, Dennis Pitcher was an outspoken, according to the RG, political commentator who pretty much spoke out against all governments previously. So my question is, there's a lot of questions for the Bermuda government, and this is for the people of Bermuda, because remember, we spoke about accountability. The people of Bermuda need to reach out to their MPs and ask who RestQuest is. They need to find out, was this put out to tender? Because I believe if a company is making over a certain amount of money, that it's supposed to be put out to tender. I could be wrong, but I'm asking questions here, not making accusations. So the question is for the government of Bermuda is, was there something put out to tender for RestQuest? It is a private company aside for the government. So is this government, what's he called, a consultant? Did he get preferable treatment in getting this? And did the Bermudian people know? Was there something public made where the Bermudian people knew that their $75 would be going towards a private company, RestQuest? Because according to what I see on LinkedIn here, folks, the tech co-founder and chief architect of ResQuest is also the chief fintech advisor to the premier and chief COVID advisor. So I'm not making accusations here. I'm just asking a bit of questions on behalf of the people that I love.
I need some tea.
Chica Trot says the charge on my statement says ResQuest. Okay.
I know you like numbers in certain aspects. Have you been able to track how many COVID tests have been administered?
I have not yet. No, I have not. But we can do that as well. We can do that as well. Michelle White says, I thought they said that the funds were going back to offset the cost of the test because the additional tests were free. Well, Michelle White, I that could be very well could be true. But I guess my question is that happening through ResQuest or is it happening through the government? James Birch, this is a question. What percentage is ResQuest taking of the $75? What's going on here? What's going on? Bermuda, you need answers. And let me restate. This Jamal Hartman, the one right here, these lips moving, I am not a journalist. But what I'm going to do is have conversations with all of you, especially about information like this, when you all bring it to my attention.
And for those of you who might be saying, well, Carla doesn't do news anymore. So
oh, yes, you do, Carla. Don't say that to the people in the public because how are they supposed to take you serious in about 5 minutes, 3 minutes?
No, but you know what I mean. I don't do investigative journalism anymore. How about that?
All right. Charles says ResQuest on mine too. But none of so now let me say this. Now, you see ResQuest on there. Does it shock you? Were you surprised? And do you have questions about that? Because I haven't even filled out mine yet, but I have questions.
But my question would be, because I remember one time getting gas from a Tessera's and it came back saying village something. And I called the bank because I was like, what is this? I just assumed it would be reflective of a gas company as such. So why haven't we, the collective we, said, well, who's ResQuest? Because I would think that it would say
correct
the accountant general, for example.
That's the point of the questions. Shari says, why can't this ResQuest be the secured method through which the 75? It very well can be, Shari. That's why we're asking the questions. That is why we're asking the questions. Can you please answer what is a chief COVID tech? Well, I think it's chief COVID tech advisor. But no, we can ask that question as well. And is it two different salaries? Chief COVID tech advisor and chief fintech advisor. We need to know these things, no? Kivane says, does powered by mean the funds are going to ResQuest? A site powered by Shopify doesn't mean Shopify is getting the money. However, if the statements references ResQuest, that can be a valid question. Oh, I agree. Again, they could just be doing one part, the website, taking the payments and giving it to government. Absolutely. But this is why we need to know. These are the questions we need answered. Teresa Stewart says, most people don't check their statements and this is it. This is why we're having this conversation. Nachika Trot says, yes, I called the bank and asked why. I thought it would say Bermuda government. Tamara Richardson, while you're investigating, can you please find out for me why I have to pay $75 as a tax-paying Bermudian for 4 tests that non-traveling Bermudians can simply drive up and get? What about travel makes my test chargeable? This is another question. I wonder if we can get the chief fintech and
chief COVID tech advisor.
COVID tech advisor on the
and
show.
Chief fintech advisor to the premier.
Chief. So many titles get thrown around these days. So Charles H. Jeffers too says, I thought this was to cover the cost of having up to 4 tests while visiting Bermuda. This sounds like our good friends at Patty. You all are too much today. You all are too much. Why am I here asking the government for answers when I could hit up our good friends at the Information Commissioner's office? You know what, Carla, you have some news to get through.
You're
we
killing me today.
have a doctor waiting to have an even better conversation. And yeah, let's get to the news and then go to Dr. Seaman. But folks, you need answers. Again, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm asking questions because most of us don't look at our bank statements. We really should, especially if it looks as low as mine.
Premier the Honorable David Byrd announced the appointment of Dr. Ernest Peets as government leader in the Senate. Dr. Peets is a certified family therapist and an internationally certified addiction and drug counselor. He's also a professional member of the American Counselors Association and the American Psychological Association. He has worked in a variety of human service environments, including corrections, probations and parole, the drug treatment court, and therapeutic communities, where he honed his addiction counseling and recovering skills. Dr. Peets is the pastor of New Life Church of the Nazarene, a post he resumed in 1999. The Ministry of Health announced on Wednesday it received 556 test results and one tested positive for COVID 19. The most recent case is classified as imported, having arrived on BA Flight 2233 from London on October 27th. This case is a returning resident who is asymptomatic and had both a negative pre arrival test and arrival test. The case has been in quarantine since arrival, as is also a close contact of a known case from the same flight. Bermuda now has 207 total confirmed positive cases. Meanwhile, the BBC is reporting that students have torn down a prison-like fencing erected around their campus on day one of England's new lockdown. Those living at the University of Manchester's Fallowfield Hall residence halls awoke to find workers putting up huge metal barriers. They were eventually pulled down as hundreds of students who said they were not warned about the measure protested. The university apologized for the concern and distress caused. Students said the fences placed between buildings blocked off some entry and exit points and left them feeling trapped. Under the new lockdown rules in England, university students have been told not to move back and forth between their permanent homes and student homes during term time. The government says they should only return home at the end of the term. Jamal, well, we know you like tea. We know you love chips, but do you like nachos?
Without cheese, yeah.
I should have known. Nachos are being celebrated today. They trace their roots to the border of Mexico and Texas. One day in 1943, the wives of 10 U.S. soldiers stationed at Fort Duncan in Eagle Pass, Texas, crossed the border into Piedras Negras, Mexico. When they stopped in to eat at Club Victoria, Chef Ignacio Nacho Anea threw together a snack to give them and called it nachos especiales, like my Spanish. In 1954, his recipe was published in St. Anne's cookbook by the Church of the Redeemer in Eagle Pass. Obviously, there's no better way to celebrate Nachos Day than to cook up some old-fashioned nachos of your own with whatever toppings you prefer. With Jabal, we know that's just water. Turning to weather with a mix of sun and clouds, Bermuda's high today is expected to reach 75. It's expected to be 73 in Atlanta, Georgia, and 52 in London, UK. What a great way to get your weekend started with Juggling Jason and the Office Workout on the Full 100 Radio from 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. Atlantic time this and every Friday. That's your Daily Hour news break.
Let's just address a couple things. Oh, don't Juggling Jason's going to be on 10 a.m. to 2 today. He does text me saying that. And this weekend, Pure Sports Radio, I'm actually going to be joining Larry Marshall. We're going to be talking about Larry Marshall Jr. We're going to be talking about sports and politics. Do they mix and so on? Just want to address a couple things. Sherry says, clearly you've never purchased something from a shady site. That wouldn't be a trophy I'd like to hold up. So yeah, no. But and been told how it will show up on your statement. I think it's just an oversight. You can think what you want. No one's making any accusations. We're asking questions, Sherry. So this can be rectified by Rasquest. I think you're making insinuations, Sherry. You're saying what you believe. No one's saying anything. We're asking questions. The difference is we're asking questions. You're making a statement of what you believe it can be. I'm not going to do that because at the end of the day, it should not be an oversight. if it is, and we just don't know. And these are legit questions that Bermudians have the right to know. James Burt says, I think this is the case, and the government could easily provide data if asked directly. The question is, who will care? There you go. This is true. People don't even look at the statements enough to care or know. Nikki Michelle says, a job that cost the government over $5,000, I believe, needs to be put out to tender. There should be a clear RFP path if ResQuest charges to be the technology solution, but we're above that. So again, we need to know what exactly, what is there an agreement? Are they being paid for it? And also, if they are a site that's like, what is the payment? The people need to know where the money is going. What is the payment for ResQuest? Is there a payment? Right. And also, this was a political commentator who was very critical of politicians before and then ends up in positions advising the premier as a consultant, I'm guessing. There's a lot to this. Don't try to narrow what I'm asking down to whatever to fit your narrative. I'm asking a lot of questions on behalf of the people. This isn't about me. Another question, James Burt says, is how much ResQuest being paid to manage the COVID testing book site. There you go. All right, going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our guest for the day. Dr. Maria Seaman is in the house. Get ready, because you know she always brings it.
Good day, Medical House Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare.
Medical House is a great resource for Lefroy. The service is excellent.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It has hundreds of styles of scrubs and nurses' uniforms for health professionals. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products. These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
The biggest reason to come see us is that we specialize in these areas and the education and knowledge that we provide.
Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
Every resident of Bermuda deserves to spend their final days with dignity. They also deserve access to privacy for themselves and their loved ones. Although Agape House has lovingly wrapped its arms around thousands of patients and their families, it can no longer meet the needs of our community. There is an urgent need for a new facility, and we need your help to make that happen. Donate today by going to agiftforagape.com or calling 232-0859. Help give Agape House a new home. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back to the big show. Carl Azul and myself, Jamel Hartman, here for you today. Look, let's just bring in our guest for today, Dr. Maria Seaman. Hello, welcome to the show.
God bless you. Good morning, and thanks for having me.
No problem. Sorry, we got a little excited before you came on. We don't usually have a show before the show, but some things had to be discussed, Dr. Seaman. Some things had to be discussed.
I believe so.
Well, honestly, thank you for taking the time and having you. We've had you in this space years ago when I was at another station, so I know you're always open to having conversations with us. But let's just get right into it from a religious perspective. I've been seeing a lot of reports. For some reason, I read a lot of news as of late, trying to make sure this credibility thing works out on this show. And according to a Pew Research report last year, right, 65% of Americans now say that they're Christians. So 65% say they're Christians. That's down from 78% as recently as 2007. And they say in the US, by 2035, the majority will be non-Christians. This seems to be a growing trend worldwide, with Christianity's long reign as the world's largest religion coming to an end with the rise of Islam. What do you, as a Christian leader in Bermuda, make of these stats?
I believe that, the longer that the world continues, the more liberty people will seek. Christianity can be seen as a religion or relationship that involves rules and regulations and boundaries. And clearly, as we look around society, you have people who want to have the right to do what they want to do. And as a Christian, I don't have that right. My Lord and Savior died for a cause, and I've taken up that cause. And so I don't have the right to do what I want to do. As a Christian, I live by the Bible. And therefore, again, as the world becomes more liberal, more free, more everybody matters with the same equal rights, then you're going to have that any type of organism, I call the church, such as Christianity, is going to be challenged. Everybody wants to be right. And so therefore, you will find that this trend, it will happen in Bermuda. It's happening here already.
But I think, okay, I don't disagree with anything you've said, especially as the world becomes more liberal. But while Christianity is dropping off, Islam's rising. Why is that? Because they're similar in terms of, for the most part, there's obviously different denominations and beliefs within each system, but they both represent very, conservatism to some aspect. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we think of Islam, we in the Christian world have to go back to the sons of Jacob, Ishmael and Isaac. Mm-hmm. Same father, but two different religions. Iraq and Iran, they're fighting today. So as one is seen to increase, the other will decrease. This is the Abrahamic fight that had begun in Genesis and continues today. And so in order for Christianity to receive that blow, then the antagonistic of Christianity, which is Islam, has to rise.
No, I got you. I get you where you're coming from. Let's switch gears real quickly. The U.S. election is actually still going on, surprisingly, right? While many are focused on the presidential race, states like New Jersey and Oregon, totally different. Oregon actually discriminalized all drugs, whereas New Jersey is going full legalization, it looks like, on cannabis. Bermuda right now has a group of people, many people pushing to do the same as far as legalization of cannabis. You're obviously, leading up to the election, you said you would favor decriminalization or medical marijuana, one of the two. Why not full legalization of cannabis at this point?
Well, here's the thing. Many a Bermudian family have already going through the consequences of their family members using weed. I don't see where they've had many happy testimonies, many good experiences. Matter of fact, it's been the opposite. You hear a number of females, at least I was hearing about 5 years ago, complaining because the father could find money for weed but couldn't pay for the child's fees or what have you. And so I believe that this will not add to the culture of Bermuda in a positive way. I don't believe the children will benefit. And one thing I will continually speak to is what I feel the environment is for the children, how that helps them or hurts them. I go to schools. I've heard teachers say, oh boy, this one comes and they're full of weed. You can't get them, the smell of it, that is. You can tell that that's where they're coming from. You got to get them to settle. Sometimes we change their shirt, all types of things. I think we keep on looking at the liberty of a thing without looking at the little children and the future of the thing. Again, I've heard many a complaints, many a testimonies, received inbox testimonies I'm sure you all know about. When has weed done us any good? I don't think so.
Well, Dr. Seaman, I've been pretty honest since we've done this show. I've never smoked weed. Been high because I went to Clay House a couple times when I was younger. But I've never personally smoked it. But I do take CBD, and it does help me get rest and wake up and at least look refreshed for this show. So from that standpoint, it has benefits for me. I have no interest in smoking personally, but okay. I can speak to the benefits from that standpoint. And keep in mind, and folks, just to be very clear, when I was a PLP delegate, I was probably one of the most outspoken people against the idea of even decriminalization at that time, right? But over the years, I've just, researched it. It's not so much people influencing me. It's more or less, let me try to learn and understand a bit more. And then you figure out maybe it can help you with some challenges. That's where I'm at with it. Not to try to change your mind or take away from your point, because I think I agree with you 1,000% as it relates to children. But when I think about legalization of anything, there still has to be regulations. And, with cigarettes or alcohol, the age is 18 or 21, depending on where you are. That should apply with cannabis as well. So I agree with you with that has to remain. The thing I think I would disagree is, yes, there are people and families who have been, people have abused things and it hasn't been a good thing. But then there are people who have taken the different products with cannabis in them and they've benefited them greatly. So I think it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Well, Jamal, let me say this. I have clearly stated that using the extract of the natural plant, using the oil, I'm not fussing about that. I'm talking about when you destroy the natural bonds of the plant by smoking it and getting some type of reaction. So when you talk about CBD oil, I'm not even referring to that. I'm not touching that. That's the extract oil. That's not what I see has been impacting families over the decades. And here's another thing that we need to consider. Oh, so we think that because there's a legal age to alcohol and cigarettes that children don't get into it, don't get distracted by it, don't get destroyed by it. It doesn't become a gateway something. And you know what? We're also teaching, I believe, the youth to rely on an outward stimulus. In other words, something that they think they can control to control them. It's an escapism that I see that's happening. And I believe the more pressure that is put upon people in general, if they don't have, I would say, remember, I'm a Christian, I speak from this standpoint, I run to my rock, Jesus Christ. I've gone through and I'm going through, yet I have a person that I can speak to. Well, there's other folks may not have that type of response, rescue. And so they depend on something else. And I believe that already we're in a dangerous situation with drinking, cigarettes, children, high school, middle school. Why add another one to the mixture? I just don't see it becoming a positive thing in Bermuda.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's switch gears a bit. The government of Bermuda still has a case before the courts regarding same-sex marriage. Has your position changed? And are you prepared to accept the result of the Privy Council if the Court of Appeals decision is upheld?
Okay, so here's the thing again. It's not, my opinion doesn't even count. It's what the Bible says. And no matter what laws of the land change, the Bible is not going to change. So I stand firm. I'm not going to change what God said. I have no right. I have no ability. And so no matter, look, laws switch up all the time. Laws change. What was wrong yesterday can be right today. God's word as a Christian is always right. And so my stance remains the same as I stand on the word of God.
Are you real quickly on that though? I mentioned before you came on that one of the things I have always respected about you in particular is that you're not afraid to stand on an island alone. You're not afraid to stand in your convictions based on what you believe. I do like that. But does it annoy you or upset you or bother you any bit that sometimes you don't see other pastors behind you? And let me tell you where I'm coming from with this. Sure, you know a gentleman, Larry Marshall Sr., and he led a movement in Bermuda. And I think what frustrated me and really changed my mind regarding a lot of religious leaders in Bermuda, and you and I had many conversations about this, but what really changed my mind about them at this time is when it comes to fight, there are people who go missing. And nobody can say that about you. But does it make you feel a certain way?
Let me, as you all know, I am human. And therefore, there is a level of frustration, not understanding it, vexation. It's a lonely walk. I'll say that. It's very lonely. And yet, I talk to God about this pretty often. And what he has trained me to understand of recent, especially the last year or so, is that, you know what, Maria, not everybody is a Jeremiah. Not everybody is a prophet that I've called at this level. And because you hear me now, I'm like, because you can have those that are considered more holy, the bishops, the apostles, the prophets, all these people in Bermuda, and I don't hear them saying anything publicly. And so therefore God is teaching me, because I'm still got to understand it. You know, I don't get calls. Good job, doing well. Thank you for standing. No, I get people, I can walk past pastors and they will totally ignore me because I'm doing something publicly. So it is a lonely stance. And yet at night when I lay down, I've got to know that my heart and my soul is right before God. I say I believe in his word. I've got to hold to that, have integrity, so that my children and grandchildren to come will know, hey, at least grandma, mom, she stood on what she believed. No, it is not easy. And again, it is a lonely road. I have supporters all over the place. But when you look at the hierarchy of the church, limited.
Now, Pastor Seaman, you talked about public. Why did you decide to run in the recent election? And did you expect to garner more votes? And what did the whole candidacy experience leave you with? What did it teach you?
First of all, I ran because God pushed me to. Been thinking about it for a long time, years, and then intensely about 6 months before deciding to run. Again, it was like, oh, Maria, do you really want to go out there? Here people hate you. Here people want you exiled out of Bermuda, be called the worst woman in the world. Why would you want to do this? And then God, he said, listen, I need you at the gate. And see, when he says that, I understand what he's saying. He's saying, like his prophets of old, I need you to be at the gate to understand what's going on in the city. Because if you don't understand, this is God talking to me, if you don't understand, you don't have a legitimate voice to speak concerning it. You know, how can you, again, God talking to me, how can you speak out against something, and particularly the legalization of weed, and you voted for it? Because people follow you so much, you know what's the first thing they're going to say? Well, you voted for the party that's going to decriminalize, that's going to legalize it and regulate it. And I couldn't see myself doing both. And here's another thing I need people to understand. I don't even require that other people do as I do. I must do as I am convicted to do. And guess what? I don't hurt anyone. I receive a lot of backlash and whatnot. And another thing, I never in my church, during church or after church, asked one person to vote for me, asked one person not to vote for. And this was a personal decision between God and myself. And so not an easy decision, but the right one to do. And I will do it again.
But were you disappointed? I mean, I'm sure it was unrealistic to think that you would win. I thought you was going to win. I took a lot of
well, thank you, Carla.
I really did.
And I'm so glad I just said, Lord, please let me get past 10 votes. That was my whole prayer. Now, I wonder why I was saying that, Jamal. I said, Lord, please don't fail me with my 10 votes.
Pastor Seaman, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Carla had a lot of faith in you. And I just didn't see, and I'm going to tell you why I didn't see it. Because when you announced your candidacy, I think Tarai Trott was there covering it. And this is not in defense of you, but the vile comments directed at you and understanding how people operate.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't see it happening. And then the amount of people that were running in that area, I just was like, she's up against it. But Carla had a belief. I think Carla had very valid, perspectives as to why her belief was there. But I just read people a bit differently.
Yeah, well, when Carla was saying about all the church people, I was like, where are they? What church people are she talking about? I have no clue. Let me tell you the first thing I did. The first thing I did when I knew I was going to run, I said, let me go and see who I'm running against and what happened in the year 2017. I looked up, I said, 735 votes. I said, Lord, I'm going to get lambasted. I said, oh, Lord. I said, God, why? I like to win. And here's the thing, this for Carla. I won by standing as a candidate. I had to get that, because other than that, it was like, why in the world? I my time, all sorts of things. I was like, this just ain't gonna work out, Seaman. But you know what? I had to invest in it, and I couldn't just put my name forward. I actually had to invest financially and time-wise to do the thing right, because God said to do it. So it was, to me, of course, I would love to have won, please. Yet the more I walked around and saw what was going on, I said, this is going to be different. This is going to be very interesting. And I also saw the fact that there were so many folks running in this area as a real plus to, wow, something's going on here. And so I was glad. I told my husband, I said, listen, if I get 22, I'm good. And I think 25. My sister came back and said, oh, you got 22. They said, no, you got 28. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Now let me go get some rest. And plus I got more than 10.
but really quickly, what would, if it was one thing that you really learned from that experience, what would it be?
So many. Here's one thing. Bermuda is very politically, racially determined to stay where they are at this point. I was amazed, and I'm going to share this. I've walked on marches with the Progressive Labor Party. I've opened up in prayer on marches and what have you. And the amount of PLP people who stopped speaking to me, who came on to try to trip me up on Facebook, I was like, well, wait a minute now. I'm not even being personal against you. I'm running for my personal conviction. I'm not coming against anybody personally. So I saw the weakness in that people are very stuck to parties. Even as I walked around, one gentleman, a Caucasian man, said, I will vote for you, but I'm going to stick with OBA because I got to get that man out, that type of thing. And I'm like, wow, even though they believe and they agree with your stance, Bermuda is so racially prone at this point. You bleed green, you bleed red. So that's one of the very vast things I found out, very real.
Now, when you announced your candidacy, there were people who said that there should be a separation between church and state. What are your thoughts on that?
I wish these same people say that when Pastor Larry Lou was in government. Did they say it even now as we have so many Christians there? Listen, when you are a Christian, an elder, and deacon, a member of a church or what have you, that influences the way you think, whether you like it or not. And so I found it very hypocritical. But hey, it's me. I found it also the norm. And that's what I've gotten used to. I don't read blogs and whatnot because I just don't have the time or energy to find out how many people are really just not nice.
Now, on the day that you announced your candidacy, you did say that you wanted to be the voice for children,
yes,
and the voiceless.
Yes.
Who, in your opinion, are the voiceless?
Well, I think probably more one and the same. I should have maybe put a slash in that. And then also, let's add this to it. We have a number of seniors, I believe, super seniors, who in their later years now, the sunset season, they don't have as much a voice as they did during their time. I believe they understand the culture and the stance and the beauty of Bermuda and what really made us who we are. And some of them no longer can vote. They can't move. And I believe in paying honor to them. They built the road that we now walk on. And now we just want Christians and all those that think culturally Bermuda should be more temperate, more even. We just want them to go away. Well, one day that will happen, but it's not today.
No, I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic worldwide. Well, most of the world anyway. And hundreds, if not thousands of people in Bermuda have lost jobs. Excuse me. What is the way that you think needs to be done to overcome the challenges that are being seen on the island right now?
Boy, oh boy, that is a tough one. And I'll tell you what, I've been thinking about it, even as one of my friends, my age. I'm like, one was made redundant yesterday. And I'm like, 55? Wait a minute, I'm still got a lot of energy and creativity. And I'm like, this is the real issue that we're going to have to face now. How are we really going to financially stabilize Bermuda and get our folks working? This is going to be the test. This is going to be the COVID test for Bermuda. While I greatly admire and applaud absolutely how we've managed this issue, the super issue coming up for our little 20-mile island, where we outsource so much, where we find that we have folks still doing jobs that locals can do, the locals that want to work. Like I know my friend who's 55 wants to work. How are we going to manage with that? I don't have the answer, but since the government is the government of the day, I will be looking to them for the answers. This issue is going to increase because it's a capitalistic society. And so it is about money.
Pastor Seaman, real quick, in reflection of one of your other answers, when you run again in 2024 or 5, would you run in the same constituency or change?
I would run in the same constituency. I live here. You know, if I could have chosen one, I don't know which one it would have been, but it's, to me, you should run where you live. And I am looking to, I'll be getting out. I'm just taking a respite here and catching myself. But that 28, come on now, let's push it to 100. Let's do something. Let's get in for Carla. Yes.
What do you think you need to do to push it to 100? What do you think you need to do?
Well, what was interesting was a couple of weeks ago, it was like a week or so, well, maybe after the election, I went grocery shopping and a young man, he said, hi, Dr. Seaman. I said, hello. He said, I heard you were at my house. And then he went to give me advice. He said, I think what you need to do next time is get out a little bit earlier and whatnot. And so I've taken that to heart. I was anyway, in that there are some things, a couple of things I can do that don't cost me anything except my time. And that's getting out early, having more conversation. I cannot give up on those 28 people plus more who actually are going to need a voice such as mine that can challenge the moment without hate and disdain. And I don't understand why we've got to be so uncaring when we have a disagreement with someone. I believe it's integrity. I think it's a great thing to teach the children how to disagree agreeably. You know, I don't hate on anyone. Had an interesting, real quick, one of the gentlemen went to his home and, talked to him. And he said to me, well, I have a son and I know you're against gay marriage. I have a son and he's gay. And I said, I will continue to respect him, even though I will never mistreat him as an individual for what he believes. That's the type of conversation that I had. And I loved it. Whether he voted for me or not, I appreciated the conversation. And I need to go back there. And I love Bermudians are very kind. I find that in general. I love meeting new people. I didn't know most of these words and in ways. And so I found it very enlightening and beneficial.
All right, let's go to, we have quite a few comments that people have left us. Here's a question. James Birch asks, this may be controversial, but religion and also drugs / alcohol could be seen as forms of stress relief. Do more liberal drug laws give people less need for the comfort of religion?
Very good question. And I will be in agreement. Some people, and I say it freely, if you ever listen to me, church is the drug. And if church is your drug, you're off too. Because it cannot be something to escape the reality. It's something church is a relationship to help you deal properly with the reality of life. Yet there are many churches that escape. And I understand it, but I want us to mature to a place where it's not the escape. It's the place of, it's a haven that empowers you to live in an environment that you feel like you need to escape. So he's quite right in that.
Indeed. We have another one. Liz Simmons says, what can churches do to, I think she's saying, educate people on drugs?
She does a second statement, yeah.
Yeah. What can the churches do? Well, we have to speak out. We have to understand ourselves. I'm a scientist, a biologist. And so, I did pre-med, and therefore, understanding the development of the brain, the synapse, the neurotransmitters, what's happening, why we shouldn't drink alcohol, all these type of things, it really hits home with me. And so I do educate the folks. We need to speak publicly. I think social media gives every pastor. If your church is on social media, that pastor should be speaking to what's going on in the society. That's what we've been given. All these people calling themselves prophets, I like to know what they're speaking about, because the prophets of old spoke to the conditions of the land. All right. They were established so that even the leaders knew who they were. And I'll tell you what, the leaders know who Maria Seaman is.
Dr. Seaman, before we let you go, one of the things, obviously, Bermuda, we mentioned jobs, we spoke about the economic challenges. To get out of some of these, to get out of where Bermuda is, and it's in a bad state. I don't think Bermudians truly understand how bad the economic state is. But to get out of this, a lot of people feel they're going to need to be more liberal as far as laws with casino gaming, right? They're going to probably need to free up with things like cannabis. They may have to do a lot of that stuff. Do you believe that's the only way to do it, or do you have solutions? I know you said just now you don't have, the solutions in terms you'll be looking to the government, but when, people love to say this here. They love to say, I saw it just the other day. What's the quote? If there are so many people who love to complain have no solutions, and I'm fine with people who find the problem but don't have the solution. Sometimes finding the problem is part of the solution, right? But if these liberal ways are not the way forward, do you have any suggestions, or would you be willing to be a part of a team? Have you been invited to be part of a team, maybe on a board? Like, what we have to get out of this funk, and we may have to, get behind laws that we don't agree with.
Okay, first of all, Maria Seaman ain't getting behind no law she don't agree with. All right. So when it comes to gaming and whatnot, I just don't see where the history is. It's been good. Many times we look for the short-term gain without looking at the long-term pain of that short-term gain. Now, we are behind the 8 ball. I really need for us to understand this. I went grocery shopping yesterday, day before, one of those days. And every time I have the packer to take my groceries to the car, it's for a purpose. We have a discussion. And the last fella, well, he should be in the UK now, he told me, well, I'm heading off to school in the UK. And I encouraged him, stay focused, learn, come back to Bermuda. Now, I say that to say this. We are behind the 8 ball by at least 20 years. You know why? Because we have not been preparing overall. This is a general statement. We have not been preparing. When that child is born, that your mindset is all right. Now, how is that child going to succeed in our Bermuda? When I had each of my girls, soon as they were born, beautiful babies, yeah, but they're going to cost some money and they need to make the earn money. And so I was driven outside of being a Christian first. These girls need to have an education so they can get out of my house and have a life and be able to survive and do what they want to do. And so I think we've dropped the ball. We became so comfortable. We don't want competition. We want everybody to go to the same school. We want everybody. Yeah, well, it still needs to, that competitive edge. It does something. And I believe that in general, too many of our young adults, they missed that. The parents missed it. And so what we've done is graduate a lot of our children to failure because we have not pointed them in a direction to succeed. We have to do that. We are behind the 8 ball, so it's going to take a lot of work. And I think that's still a part of the process. Why do we have so many foreign nurses? Why, who's the one? And I know Dr. Karika Weldon's doing something similar, but it needs to be done on a bigger scale. It always has been needed to be done, where we see what that child, how they're shaped, how they're pruned, and we take them and we groom them that way. Our children are just brilliant. But then if they're not trained that way, they lose the zeal, the fight, and the ability to learn that way. They're either going to learn this way or that way. If we don't groom them to succeed, we groom them to fail.
Indeed. Dr. Maria Seaman, thank you so much for taking the time, honestly.
Thank you.
And please know the door is open. Should you
anytime
come back and share anything with us, all right? Thanks again.
Thank you. And thank you, Carla. God,
Next time, Ron.
God bless you both. Blessings
Have a
abound.
great day.
Thank you.
Dr. Maria Seaman, everybody.
You're not gonna let me live that down, Jamal.
No. I'm glad Dr. Seaman caught it, but honestly appreciate Dr. Seaman. As I stated before he came on, like, you know, I know what it's like to be out there on your own. And to watch her at times, like I've had someone write me and say, you know what, she's actually right, but I can't support her because she didn't support this. That's how people think. Like, and you know why I found that interesting, because I remember when we were fighting conscription, people would be like, yeah, you guys are right, but nah, I can't support you publicly because I work for the fire service. Or I'm a police. Like, it's strange how people like a lot of what she said, like regardless of how you feel about Dr. Seaman, go back and listen to a lot of this stuff she said. You would be surprised with the amount of stuff you relate to. Trust, folks. On that note, we have a daily play, big shows next week as well. We have a lot of talk about 5G going on in Bermuda. We have the chief executive officer from the regulatory authority joining us for talk about 5G in Bermuda next Tuesday. Looks like we're going to have another talented Bermuda coming on Monday, equestrian and singer from out here in Florida, and we'll be rounding it out with some good shows over the next couple of weeks. But Carla, you have a question to answer. She needs your help on this, folks. She needs your help on this. Carla, you ready?
I don't need the help, but anyway.
Oh, okay. All right. She's got it. She's got it. So here's the where is it for today, folks? This is the daily play. This is where Carla is guessing today.
Oh, Tiger Bay. No, it's not in St. George's.
It's close to Tiger Bay.
It's, well, I don't know those areas, Jamal. You go up the hill behind there. I don't know what that's called.
How don't you know a 21
I tell you, I don't travel the east like that. But not Tiger Bay, but the place beside it where they.
Yeah, what's it called?
How far? I don't know, and I don't know. I never did soccer shows down there too often.
What? You live? You don't do county game. You ain't been cut match but once in your life, and you didn't do soccer show. Everybody done soccer shows down Tiger Bay.
I did maybe one or two, but I was happy on.
Even Dr. Seaman probably did soccer show. No, I'm
or juice, but no, not Tiger Bay, but right beside it. I come on, you all, give me credit. I know where it is. I just don't know what it's called.
It's the World Heritage Center, Penner's Wharf, right there.
Kristen White would never forgive me for this, but I knew where it was. I just didn't know the name.
And it's look, everybody's helping you. Look, everybody.
Thank you. But I got it. Give me a half. Give me a.
There you go. Yep, Penner's Wharf. Everyone helped her out. Carla, you know, we're not going to hold it against you. You knew what parish it was in. You knew what parish it was.
I knew exactly where it was because the hill, you go up the hill. Right behind it. I knew where it was. That's a Bermudian thing. But anyway.
Yeah, what you got for inspiration? Inspire yourself this morning.
This is dedicated to you, Bao. A real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Walter Winchell.
Remember that, folks. I like that one. I really do. I love that one. Any final words, Carla, before we head out?
Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. For those of you in the UK, enjoy your first weekend on your second dose of lockdown.
Oh, yeah, it's lockdown season over there. I just want to say to everybody, thank you all for continuing to trust us, to engage with us. Thank you to everyone who continues to come on and have conversations and engage with the audience as well. We really, really enjoy doing this, despite me having to wake up at 4. Oh, sorry, that's not about me. It's about you. But no, we really, really appreciate you always joining this conversation and making it worthwhile. So on that note, you know, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we will be back. Hopefully we'll have Jackie back with us as well on Monday to do this all over again. And we're going to be celebrating another Bermudian on Monday. So let's just hope you all can tune in and get behind our Bermudian artists. All right?
Yes.
Oh my, what was that? Glass.
Sing it.
Clink.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.